We love hip-hop.
Let's get it poppin', man. We were back. It's your boy Friday Ricky Dread here with another interview for your head top. Big salute to all the sponsors that you're going to be seeing rolling across the bottom of the screen. And make sure to hit that like button for all the people who are watching on YouTube. Listen, man, this gentleman who I have here in the studio with me, we've been friends for probably like 20 years now, bro.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't want me to age ourselves right here, but like we go back.
Our heads and our hair do that already.
You know what I'm saying? We go back like chiropractors, man. This gentleman has been a pillar in the city. He's been able to bring unity to multiple communities. He's been able, the founder of something that has brought a multitude of stars to the world from out of Toronto here. I am very, very honored to have my friend and legend, Gavin Sheppard, in the motherfucking building, man.
That's an intro.
Thank you, brother.
That's an intro. Thank you,
Welcome, man. Welcome, man.
One cornerstone to another.
Yeah, man. Listen, brother, I'm so excited to get into this. I want to make this like a history lesson for the people who don't know who you are and what you've brought to the table. Just off top, for the people who might not be familiar with you, you are the founder of the Remix Project.
Co-founder
of the Remix Project.
And a few more.
And this project, the Remix Project, for the people who are in Toronto, everybody knows about the Remix Project. You know what I'm saying? But before we get into that and like the history of that, I want to talk about the book that you have out right now. 100, a survival guide for young city kids.
Right. Yeah.
Right. We got it over here on the table. Talk to me about the book, man.
You got the test pressing right there, man. Yeah. 100. It started, to be honest, as a larger project that I was working on with some friends like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
And it started as part of this, what's called a transmedia project. And what I mean by that is it had many different touch points into the world. And it was a Twitter character that I'd actually started.
Okay.
So I was starting to write this fictional character on Twitter, but nobody knew that the person was fictional. And so I had started like tweeting and just writing about this person's life through Twitter and creating a character profile and whatnot. And then started putting like, as I was building the story behind the scenes, so I was starting to build a web series that it was going to turn into, and then eventually the goal was a short film and then a television series.
Right.
I started doing like putting out other pieces of media through it. So I put out like a DJ mix. And so the character's name was Rob Lata, like Rob the State.
Okay.
Right? Like Rob coup d'etat, like Rob Lata, like Robin Hood kind of vibes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, a lot of people, even close friends of mine, had no idea who it was because at the time I was away at school. And I would tell people, and this is early Twitter, this is like 2011, right? 2012. And I'd be telling people, oh yeah, I just met this guy, he's dope, you should follow him. And I'd be retweeting him all the time and eventually built up this organic following.
Right.
And so yeah, I put out a DJ mix, that started getting some traction, and then started collaborating with other creatives like the poet Saul Williams. We did a lyric video for him. And it was like, Saul Williams like, shout out my man Rob Lata for the lyric video. And we published it or whatever. I started a blog and then had other people contributing, and one of it was my guy TG, who's a phenomenal illustrator, graphic designer, and whatnot from up here. And one project that we wanted to do that we never ended up doing was this book. Like it was a zine where it was like a bunch of tweets and illustrations that went with them. And the idea was like, oh, I'm gonna leave them around the subway and just like as a way to kind of get the character's name out there some more. And kind of just put it to bed. Life happens. We did put out a web series. Like it was like first episode was 9 photographs with written descriptions painting the world.
Right.
The second episode was an actual video piece. The third episode was stop motion photography set to music. And the fourth episode was illustrated like graphic novel style.
Interesting.
And so that's when I say transmedia is like all these different pieces and ways of telling a story because we didn't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
So we're like, how do we tell the story? How do we paint a world? How do we welcome people into this space in a creative way? And so I was just like leaning on the creatives around me, favors, whatnot. And to launch it, actually, we rented this like abandoned factory space.
Okay.
And what I did at the time was I got people's photographs from Instagram and I made like ID cards for everybody. So when you got your invitation to come, you pull up And at the parking lot, we gave you this ID card. You
Right.
walk down the alley, there's two guys in like all black, and it's like a checkpoint, like a military checkpoint.
And not to interrupt you, what year is this at this point?
This is 2014.
Okay.
Probably.
So we're still early in
that. 2014, 2015, somewhere in there. And yeah, people walk through this military checkpoint. They show their ID card. They come in the back. There's like little lights dangling from the trees. It's all overgrown, kind of like fucked up concrete, whatever. I had a DJ playing off to one side. There's tables, like people are playing dominoes. We're selling rum in flasks, like metal flasks and stuff. And then you walk into the actual warehouse, and the episodes were installed in different spaces. There's 9 photographs are installed on the wall. You walk into another room, the video episode's playing on a projector.
Sick.
And then in the middle of the room, we had like couches and little like aloe plants, and people could basically sit down, talk about what they just saw, the ideas that came out of that space. They leave with a little plant. They go outside. They get their flask of rum. They get their spot. They can have a party. They can vibes, whatever. So it was a really cool project, and we did all these extensions of it. But that one never saw the light of day. And I basically I'd been posting these other videos, maybe 6 months ago or so. And I started posting these videos, and it was all like, my talking head. And I was like, I want to break this up. Like I want to I'm not sure what to do. I just don't want it to just be me talking the whole time. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I was like, I haven't been outside in forever. Like I used to be city kids strolling. That was my shit. People knew city kids strolling. Like I'd always just be taking photos everywhere, whatever. Yeah. And I was like, man, I haven't been outside in forever. Oh, I got some of these illustrations still. So I started posting those. And my guy Jermaine from Link in Bio, Jermaine Prime, like Prime Boys, and was part of Murder Beats' management team and all that. He had actually kind of stepped back from the music industry, and he started an independent book publishing company. Okay. And I've been seeing what he was doing, and I was a fan of what he was doing. He was focused primarily on art books and really high level, like dope shit. And he reached out to me. He's like, "What is this?" I was like, it's this thing. I was trying to put it out, but he's like, "Take that shit down. I want to put it out." I was like, yeah, okay. Like that was always the plan, but I hadn't thought about it in forever. And I was like, but what's the context? Because this character isn't around anymore. Yeah. And this the web series, we did it. It was dope, but it's it's been years. Like, what is the context of this thing? And so I started talking to TG again, my boy B.O., who was part of the early Brain Trust. I talked to Drex a bit, I talked to Ruiz. And I was kind of like, well, the context, the tweets, as much as they were written by this character, they all came from me. Right. And they really were an extension of what we were going through. And one of the things in there, it says there's always more truth in fiction. And I think that's true. I think that, a lot of times we can talk about things that we'd be scared to talk about or wouldn't be comfortable talking about, just bald faced on it. But in the context of fiction, you can write it as a story or as a character, and you can say the rawest shit. Yeah. And I was like, man, these are kind of field notes from that era, of being a city kid and being outside in the city and just going through it, and on so many levels, and being next to my people going through stuff. And so I was like, I just had I've had my son a couple years ago now. He's 5. Absolutely. And I was like, maybe this is field notes to him, and to just young men coming up and young people in general, but it's a lot to do with young men coming up, and field notes for navigating the city. And so that's what it evolved into. Is called 100 because there's 100 tweets, right? And that, or notes, and what are now quotes. And it says at the very beginning, it says in the very start, it says, an archive of wisdom rescued from the wasteland of Twitter for future generations, 140 characters or less. And that's what it is, man. It's things I'd heard, things I'd experienced. And then TG, the illustrator, would bring them to life. So it's a quote and then the dope illustration that literally illustrates it. And so it's a city kid survival guide, city kid strolling. And then the kind of subtitle is Letters to Idris, which is my son's name, Idris. Right?
Dope,
so
dope.
That's what it's all about.
Are you thinking of maybe even bringing back the web series?
I toy with it for sure, but my life has gone in so many different directions. There's definitely aspirations of telling the stories that I've wanted to tell. But even with that, it was always, the character was on Twitter because it was being influenced by the real world and telling stories ripped from the headlines of now, but then given a twist and a different perspective. Yeah. And again, being able to maybe speak, from my philosophical sense of it, because I'm a big believer that culture shifts culture.
Yeah.
You know, like my life's work has been informed by that idea, whether that's with remix, whether that's in the art that I create or whatever. You know, like it's this idea that culture shifts culture. And so I was like, how do we tell stories that help to shine a light on things that need a light shone on it, or uplift people or ideas or places, you know, that should be uplifted.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely a sense of that. It would have to, so it would be updated, you know, we'd find new things to talk about. But at this point, I think like I've really settled into the reality of what again, my life's work has always been, whereas this idea of culture shifts culture, but there's also this idea of like supporting storytellers.
Yeah.
And I know that I am still a storyteller in the way that I am supporting people, because I'm now telling their stories and helping them roll out their stories or synthesize their stories, you know, to get to a place that makes sense and is digestible and is exciting and whatnot for others. But that's where I feel like I fit right now, is that my life's work at this point is supporting storytellers, you know, more than it is maybe creating a lot more of my own narratives. But who knows, you know, life goes, it's a cyclical thing, right? So we'll come back around.
Like, you never know.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second.
Discover Canna Cans, where quality meets innovation. With over 24 premium strains, each carefully sealed in our signature cans for maximum freshness. We're redefining the cannabis experience. Trusted Canada-wide for consistency and reliability. We deliver the product you deserve. Elevate your expectations and explore the difference with Canna Cans. You can find Canna Cans on Instagram at CannaCans_Canada, or you can find them on the Diamond Club page, DiamondClub_Ontario. Make sure to use the code WeLoveHipHop on the way out and get yourself a little discount. Salute to the sponsors. Cheer!
All right. Okay, so because this is the first time I'm having an opportunity to sit here with you and have the conversation on camera, obviously,
right,
I want to go back and get your history, all right? So you grew up in South Etobicoke, Lakeshore Boulevard area.
Yes, sir.
Right?
From the lake to the world.
Tell me about that area and like just the diverse makeup of the area and you growing up in it, man.
So I was actually there this morning. I took my son out there. We were just like shooting some little video things and doing some cool stuff together. And I was actually talking to Jermaine, and I was like, you know, Toronto is known as one of the most multicultural cities in the world.
It is.
And I feel that Lakeshore is one of the most multicultural areas in a city that's praised for multiculturalism. You know, like you had like where we were staying in, you know, on 10th Street on the basketball courts, there's the Caribbean Canadian building. I don't know if it's still called that, but that's what it was called growing up officially. It was next to me. You know, a block over to the east is an Indian Shakti temple. There's a mosque. Down the road is a Korean Presbyterian church.
Wow.
Across the way is a Jehovah's Witness temple. The bottom of the street is like millionaires gated housing.
Yeah.
The top of the street is co-ops and housing. And there's every walk of life, literally, figuratively, metaphorically speaking, in between, you know, and on both sides of that thing. And so, you know, that was the neighborhood we grew up in. And in the 90s, you know, because I'm an 80s baby. So like by the mid to 90s or so, when I was like really outside and, you know, coming outside, I mean, you know, we were outside from super young, but like, you know, really out there, the thing that kind of like brought us all together was definitely hip hop culture.
Yeah,
you know? And like all forms of it. I was saying, like, we were walking by this like old folks home area, and I was like, yeah, this area, it had like a cool overhang. There's concrete in the middle. There's all field around it. And I was like, the B-boys used to set up like cardboard on here and have the ghetto blaster out and be dancing and stuff. It was like it was a real scene. You know what I mean? I used to walk around with a little like tape deck, you know, and have like the D batteries in there and just be blasting stuff. You know, we were mentioning Cardi before this the podcast started, and like I remember having his first album on cassette tape and playing that like all the time, walking around with that. And yeah, man, that's what it was. It was literally like every walk of life, we all kind of grew up together. We all ate each other's comfort foods. You know what I mean? Like it's like, you know, to this day, as a city kid, like in the winter, you're eating pho. You know what I mean? Like in maybe some Thai food or whatever. And then summertime, I'm eating like Jamaican food. I'm eating, Nigerian food. Like I grew up more on, I'm not gonna lie, I grew up more on the Ghanaian side. So I'm eating that jollof versus whatever. But you know, God love everybody. I'm not gonna start the diaspora wars as the white kid from Toronto, but like, you know, we know what team I'm on when it comes to the flavor profiles.
The Nigerians are getting pissed right now.
But we do manage Nonso Amadi, who's one of my favorite artists in the world, who's an incredible Nigerian Afro R&B artist who's introduced me to many amazing cuisines and parts of the culture. So it's love all across the board for sure. But I definitely grew up washing Auntie Tina's car before Sunday school, and you know what I mean, was outside with the guys up at Roundtree for barbecues. So, you know what I mean.
And your parents, your mother is a painter.
She is,
and your father was a journalist.
Yeah.
Right. So how did that shape you and your art and everything just like that you do, man?
Yeah, I mean, it again, stories were very much at the heart of everything, right? So she's a painter. She also worked at the library. So when I wasn't outside like playing sports, I was in the library reading books.
Nice.
And yeah, my father would be quizzing me on stuff all the time, and you know, just kind of drilling me with questions and whatnot. And so like storytelling has been, and he was also like a great storyteller. He would tell me beautiful stories as a child, you know, making them up off the top of his head. Music, they all both played music as well. And so, you know, all of those kind of art forms surrounded me, you know, from a young age. And past like their art form and their practices, which definitely made a huge impact, going to art shows as a kid and like, you know, listening to music all the time and having stories and whatnot. But also just their spirit was a big impact on me. They were kind of hippies, you know what I mean? Like there's definitely a moment in time they lived on a commune, like, or at least my mom did for a summer, you know, like, and but their spirit of generosity, you know, their spirit of like community, you know, and they wouldn't necessarily preach it, but they would just live it. You know what I mean? My house was always the house where people could come over and get food. You know what I mean? Like I'd come home and like someone would be downstairs. Like I had a little bench press that someone else was throwing out and gave us. And so like I'd come over and people would be downstairs like working out in my basement. I'd be like, Trey, how are you? What, like the fuck? He's like, yeah, your mom let me in and like I got some rhubarb cake. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like
that's dope though, man.
But yeah, it was always the house, you know, where you could come. Like people got kicked out, they'd sleep over, you know, or stay for a while. And
it's like a mini community center almost.
It was in some ways, you know, it was my house and it was Tommy Boyle's house. Like Katie Boyle was also a woman that, you know, would call me son, that helped kind of imbue those values into me of like, we're all we got. You know what I mean? And like, if no matter what you're looking for, whether that's like, you know, a way forward with your music career or your business, or whether that's a sandwich, like you go to who you know first.
Yes.
You know, and we build laterally, like we build together and across versus always like trying to look up for someone to hand something down.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. And are you an only child?
I'm not. No, I have a sister. She's hilarious, but she lives out in Kitchener-Waterloo. She's like an early childhood education expert. You know, and we grew up in the same house. Never have fought, but we definitely grew up differently, you know, different groups of friends, different realities. She went through her own stuff, but she's a brilliant human being who actually makes me laugh all the time. And as we've become adults, you know, I've like have come to appreciate her even more.
And for what she does and for what you do, you guys can kind of like trade stories and information and help each other. You know what I'm saying? That's beautiful, bro. Tell me about Scott Johnson or Johnston.
That's crazy. Okay. That was my grade 10 English media teacher. And I credit him with the reason why I didn't like formally drop out of high school even at that point. Basically, that's crazy you bring him up. So I met him at 10th Street at the basketball courts.
Okay.
And we were hooping. A bunch of us were hooping. He was playing, you know, and he was a young teacher. He must have been, you know, in his early mid-20s, right? And had just started his teaching career, but he was hooping in the summertime. And I remember a couple of my guys knew him and they were like, yeah, guy's a teacher at my school. I was like, okay, cool. Like whatever, he seemed cool. And in grade 9, so prior to that summer, I had like, you know, I'd screwed up a lot. Like I had 4 credits. You're supposed to get 8 credits, you know, for the year. I ended the year with 4 credits. I went to summer school for math. I just wasn't doing well. All my friends were in grade 12. They'd all be out like drinking, doing dumb shit, and I'd be rolling with them, you know, and they'd be like, we got double spare, and I'd be like, I got math and science, like fuck it, like let's go to Taco Bell and skateboard and do graffiti and shit. And like So I was screwing up, and grade 10 wasn't much better. But and then my friends at home, like, because I went to school for French immersion, I went to like 40 minutes out of the neighborhood.
Okay.
Right. It was definitely a mission. And my friends at home, out of the like 12 friends at home, probably like 7 or 8 had already dropped out. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna do this school thing. It's so far. Like it's not working for me, whatever. And then I went into the homeroom, and this guy's sitting there, and I'm like looking at him, like, I know this guy. Like, how do I know this guy? And then we starts talking. He's like, yeah, I used to teach at Lakeshore. And I was like, Scott, Mr. John, like, you know Amari, you know Steve, you know Raju. Like, and he's like, yeah, those are my guy. I'm like, yeah, well, that's crazy. What are you doing here? I was like, I transferred, blah, blah, blah. So we started talking, and I was like, this is someone that gets me, because I felt like a fish out of water up there.
And
you know what I mean?
Around your area.
Yeah, and it was a lot of rich kids up there. It was not, I didn't relate. I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder. And when I look back, I understand it was some of my ego as well. But like, I was just like, yeah, you guys don't understand, and fuck you guys, and whatever. And so he was someone that did, and he would give me like CDs to listen to. He started putting me onto magazines, to read, and a lot of it was like social politics. And I think he recognized that culture was the entry point to me, because even then I was selling mixtapes in grade 9, you know what I mean? Like, and I was at like Kipling Station hustling mixtapes for the older kids and stuff. So he knew that culture was the entry point, but then he also knew I cared about the world a little bit, and I was interested in things. And so he would give me, just magazines and books and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to come to his class, but his class was homeroom. So by the time I got up there, it's 40 minutes. I was like, well, I'm not going home now.
Yeah.
So I just stay. And I credit him all the time for, one, not dropping out of school right away. And then 2, for really helping to like open my mind to things. There were good entry points, like Adbusters magazine, which I don't think is around anymore, but was like a cool kind of like, almost like a meme based magazine before there was like memes, meme culture, but it was like images with thoughts and ideas. And then there'd be longer form essays, but like really critical. And he put me onto a lot, man. He had a huge impact in my life. Years later, I hadn't seen him for a while, and I was getting ready to do the TED Talk. And I was freaking out. I wrote this thing 3 times. I tore them all up. I didn't think it was good. I couldn't memorize shit. I was never good at memorizing things. And I actually called him, the night before, and I was like, man, I'm freaking out. And because I got in his contact. I forget how I got it. But I got his contact, and I reached out, and I was like, I'm freaking out about this thing. I know I haven't talked to you in a while, but like, can you meet me or whatever? And he came and met me, and we ended up walking for like 30, 40 minutes from my house to the venue where the TED Talk was. And he's just helping me talk through it and think through it. And I went up there and pretty much freestyled the whole thing. But it went, it was great. He gave me the confidence, and it was funny that he was the person I thought to call. And he showed up, like he's a real teacher. And so he also played a big impact in my life in the moment, but also in terms of like how I went on to move through the world myself, from then on. So
nah, man, salute to Scott Johnston, man.
Sure.
Sometimes you need that influential older person in life, man, to push you forward, man.
Yeah, and people that show up.
Yeah. And you had another person along your journey that helped to shape the journey, basically.
Yeah.
I want to know who this person is. You had a friend that came around from Queens, New York.
Right.
Right?
Steve, yeah.
And he brought you to the community center for the first time in your area. Who is that guy,
this
man?
Guy's doing his homework over here. I know we know each other for 20 years, but that's wild.
I do my homework, man.
So Steve, my guy Steve, basically, there's one person in your group of friends that for better or for worse, you're following that person. You know what I mean? And he was a really charismatic guy. Is a really charismatic guy. His name's Steve Burke. And like he was that guy that we followed for better or for worse. He came from Queens, New York. His mom had sent him up to live with his dad and his new partner on our block because he was like, just like, get out of Queens. Like shit's going crazy. Your brother's getting in trouble. You're getting in trouble. Like,
I know those ones.
Yeah. So, and he was like, he was an athlete. He was hilarious. He was just a cool dude. And I was kind of like, if he's the general, then I'm like, the right hand that's like, okay, what are we doing tonight? Where are we going? Like figuring out what's happening. helping organize things like, and yeah, he really kind of helped introduce me to outside, because as much as now, you know, I can get in a conversation and people see me talk in front of people, like I was pretty shy. And I still identify as someone who's very like I'm not a joiner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't join, I'll watch and I'll take it in and I'll show up, you know, but I'm not really a joiner.
Right.
And like he would make me come to things and make me come outside and bring me around the community center. And he was really the glue that held this group of friends together. And one day his mom was like, nah, you got to come home. Like you've been gone for too long. You're graduating high school. I want you back in New York. And so he moved back to New York City. And that's when that whole like group of friends kind of like dissipated. The community center lost its cool. Like it just wasn't, you know what I mean? And I was like, okay, how do I bring this back? Because now I'm like, you know, I only had sports as my way of connecting with people. Otherwise I was reading books and just inside and whatever. So I was like, how do I bring people back? Like, how do I, and it was hip hop, right? So I was like, I was going to the 416 Graffiti Expo. Another friend, Drew Nelson, would bring me down there. We'd like leave summer school and go to the 416 Graffiti Expo. And it would blow me away. I would just see what, you know, Jonathan Ramos and those guys were doing, Click and Son of Soul and everybody, and just be amazed at like seeing these world famous like graffiti artists painting on the walls for this weekend, and like people breaking and DJs playing and MCs going. And it was just like super hip hop shit. Yeah. And I would come back to the block and be like, yo, you guys got to come to that. And nobody would come. You know, the neighborhood's like a safety blanket.
Yeah.
Right?
Nobody
like,
want to leave the hood. Bro.
Yeah. And like people, you know, like even if the hood is like a dangerous place, it's the place, you know. Yeah. Right. It's, you know where to go if something happens. You like it's a safety blanket in a lot of ways. And so
man's like, you're going downtown?
Yeah. I was like, that's crazy. And so I'd be like, yo, imagine if we had this every day. Like, what would it look like? Da, da, da. So I went back to our community center and told them this vision, and they were like, okay, well, you know, put it on paper basically. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know how to write a grant, but I know how to write an essay. Like I've always been good with language. I've been shit with other things, math especially, but language I could do. Right. And I wrote this essay, like why we should have a hip hop community center. And I brought it to them, and they were like, oh, okay, yeah, this is cool. But like, prove to me that if this is going to be for the community, that it's of the community. You know what I mean? That this isn't just your idea. Like this has to be more than your idea. Right. This has to be a demand, you know? And it was a really good lesson, and just way of like pivoting my thinking. And so I went out and did surveys and like had some friends help me. We were going to movie theaters, the mall, the subways, you know, everywhere, getting people to fill out these little surveys. Do you want to see a hip hop community center? What would you want to see in it? You know, what would it look like? How would it work? And came back, you know, kind of dropped them on the table, and I was super confident, you know what I mean? Like, okay, let's move forward. Let's get this going. And they're like, yeah, this is cool, but you and your friends could have filled these out yourselves. Like, let's do a focus group. And I always say, like, at that point, I had no idea what they're talking about. I'm 17 years old, you know, and I'm just like, we're a group of people already. We are focused. We are a focus group. Like, what are you talking? Like, we're a focus group, bro. Like, let's go. Yeah. Like, and they were like, nah, man, a focus, like, we're going to bring people together. And I was like, the point is, nobody comes here already. Nobody wants to come here. How am I going to bring a focus group together? You know? And they're like, well, how do you bring people together? I was like, well, food and music. So we advertised barbecue everywhere, and like a breakdance battle, and it was gonna have an open mic. And we just like promoted that everywhere. And so people came, they grabbed the barbecue, the food, we come inside, and we literally like locked the door behind folks. And we're like, yo, y'all gonna eat the food. You could just answer a few questions while we're eating it. Cause you know, remember them surveys? Like folks here don't think that you filled those out. They thought it was me. Like, I just want to make sure we're good. And what was supposed to be like a half hour, 45 minute, like quick little focus group thing turned into like hour and a half, 2 hours of people just like debating, standing on the pool tables, like going off about shit, what they were dealing with. Like, and then we got into it, into the music after. But that really showed the passion in the community and of the community for this space. And so what I realized later was like, Bill Worrell, the guy that was putting me through these kind of like exercises, was really on some Mr. Miyagi shit where I was like wax on, wax off, and I didn't know what I was doing. And then I was realizing wax on, wax off, I was blocking punches and blocking kicks, because now I had an essay, which was the body of the grant. I had data collected from the community from these surveys, and then I had a focus group to like back up the data and have qualitative and quantitative data. And he showed me the steps.
Yeah.
But again, at the time, I was like, why is this guy making me jump through these fucking hoops, man? Like, just get us this program. Like, I'm gonna make this place cool. And he was like, cool, you got the vision. But like, again, when I say Mr. Miyagi shit, that's the Karate Kid, right? Like, that's what he's telling him, like, you know, you got to wax my car before I teach you. And then he's telling him how to wax this thing and then wax it off. And then he's realizing later in life that like this was a blocking a punch and blocking a kick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what this guy was doing. That's what Bill Worrell was doing for me. So, you know, that's how it all got started. But it came from like Steve being this like charismatic leader that we all just followed. And then with him going away, the bottom of our social group just falling out and wanting to bring people together and wanting to find a way to like contribute and just not like, you know, like just be a part of something again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yo, salute to you, Steve. You you helped to start the journey over here, man.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because every piece of like the puzzle brings you to who you are today. You know what I'm saying? So like when I bring up these names and people, like I feel like it's important to paint the whole picture. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll bring you another name. Drex.
Drex, for sure.
Big salute to Drex.
Absolutely.
Okay, for the people who don't know, Drex right now is the CEO of OVO.
He is, yeah.
Which when I seen that in like, I think online somewhere, I was like, what the fuck am I reading?
Yeah, man. It's awesome.
Rapper Drex has gone on to doing so much, but he's been an integral part of your life throughout the whole journey.
Oh, for sure.
When did you meet Drex?
I want to take a quick break from this episode to give a big shout out to Only Loud, Canada's one-stop shop for your favorite legacy brands and all things loud. Only Loud provides mail order delivery nationwide and same-day delivery to those in the Ottawa area. Check them out at onlyloud.ca or follow them on their socials, Instagram at onlyloudcanada or on Snapchat onlyloud.ca for more exclusive content. Only Loud is not just a product, it's a lifestyle. Big salute to the sponsors. Cheer!
In high school. In grade 9. He would have been in grade 10. I was in grade 9. And my friend Raph, who is the brother whose mom, who's Auntie Tina, whose car we would wash, you know, and go to Roundtree barbecues with and everything. And so Raph was in a group and was in his friend group, and there was may or may not have been a music group that they were all a part of. And he would start bringing Drex around, and I was kind of like, "Why is this white guy here? Like, I'm the white guy in the group. Like, why is he? Like,
you're getting over the quarter now."
Yeah, man. I was like, "What's going on? Am I losing my spot?" Like, but he was coming around, and I was kind of like, "Okay." And I think I actually met him for the first time at a basketball game at Redmond. There was an after school, and Steve and them had brought me up to go to Redmond.
Fucking Steve, man.
And yeah, bro, because it was just outside the neighborhood. But he had joined the basketball league because he was fire. He was an amazing athlete. And he was like, come play. Da, da, da. And I remember that first game, I ended up getting to a fight. Some guys rushed me from Central, and they came to my school and rushed me. And to this day, I don't know why. Like, I'd gone to middle school with this kid. I hadn't seen him in months. We're both in grade 9 now. And the man just showed up with like 20 guys and was like, fuck you.
That's crazy.
And yeah, to this day, I would love to know why. But whatever, something happened that made him feel like, whatever. Showed up, we got into this huge fight. I broke my knuckle on his face. And I ended up I remember being at the bus stop being like, I gotta go to basketball. It's my first day in this league, and my knuckle was like next to this one. And I just like popped it back into place.
Damn.
And I'm like, because my adrenaline's going, you don't feel it, right? You're a kid. And so I get on the bus and I get down there. And I show up, and like my knuckle now is like the adrenaline's worn off. It hurts like hell. My hand is swollen out to here. And I remember Drex telling from his point of view, he's like, "Who is this fucking guy? Like, what are you doing here? Like, why are you here? You know?" And I went across the street to a friend's house, and I think I had my first beer, and from there went home and whatever, and never went back. But that was meeting Drex. But from there, he was in the group with the guys, and eventually, we actually became really close, and from very, very quickly on, because we were two people that really would go out and do shit, and years later with Remix, we would call it the Make It Happen Gang. We'd be like, look, I don't care about your affiliations outside of this place. In here, we're the Make It Happen Gang. We make shit happen. That's what we do.
Right.
And we used to joke that I was Mr. Make It Happen because I would kind of be first in to a lot of places. and I'd like make the relationship and like, you know, build some goodwill somewhere and whatnot, and like ideate with folks, but then he would actually get it done. You know what I mean? Like not moved without him. Like, you know what I mean? I would make it happen, but he would get it done. So I was Mr. Make It Happen. He was Mr. Get It Done. And that was the nature of our relationship. As much as he's very much a creative in terms of a thinker and an ideas person, but he was also an operations guy. And that's what, you know, we really needed in that space. And he stepped up and he started taking on the budgets. And while I'd be writing grants, he would contribute, but he'd be looking at the numbers. And you know, he knew the numbers from a bunch of different places and had through his own life experiences and lived experiences inside school and primarily outside of school, you know, was balancing budgets and figuring out things, how they worked and whatnot. And, you know, just basically stepped in with those transferable skill sets and helped grow the organization into something that was an operation, you know, in a true sense of it. And so we grew together, you know, from very young, like, you know, 14, 15 years old, we were, you know, doing music and hustling to push his music and then push the music of those around us. But then when IC Visions got started, which was the precursor to Remix, that was the program that I was mentioning, the whole like Mr. Miyagi shit. The first community center was called Inner City Visions, or IC Visions for short. And that's where we met, obviously.
You know, we didn't meet there. We met before that, but we'll get to that.
Okay. I have a distinct memory of being in the space and you coming. So we must have met before that, because why would you show up otherwise? But from Montreal.
But I was already there managing Empire and those guys, bringing them in there for sessions and stuff.
No. We met even before that because we didn't have the studio yet.
Yeah, I used to go to the radio station to see you.
Yes, that's right. So that makes more sense.
Yes.
And then coming to the community center before the recording studio opened, because that would have been 2003.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. So
2004 was the studio. But yeah, like nothing moves without Drex.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what it is. You know, I think I talk about team building a lot, and I talk about this idea of people make the mistake all the time of I need another me. You know, they're always like, if I had another me, I could do so much more. Like, I just need another me and I could do, and it's like, no, you're already great.
Yeah.
You're actually great. Like, you don't need another you. You need someone who's really good where you're weak, right? You don't build your team from a place of like, I need my strengths. You build a team from your place of your weaknesses.
Yeah. So
you have to be really honest with yourself. Where do I suck? Right? Like, can I be honest with myself? Like, can I look myself in the mirror and be like, I'm actually not good at that? Like, okay, cool. Well, that's who I need to take this thing further. I don't need someone who has my strengths. We're just going to step on each other's toes.
Yeah.
Right? So we had very complementary skill sets. Again, he's also a creative thinker. He also knows how to talk to people, but he's not the one that was going to go outside, go downtown, initiate things.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to sit home and think through the process of how this is going to work. And then he's going to go and actually do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think it was like left hand and right hand together, you know, as we worked together. He wasn't my right hand, you know, I wasn't his left hand. We were both two hands of this thing called Remix that, you know, moved it forward.
That's so dope, man. And those IC Vision times were some times, bro. But let me get to the time when I met you, because I met you from doing the radio show with DJ Grouch.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I was trying to rack my brain for what was the name of that show?
The Soundcheck Show.
The Soundcheck Show.
Yeah.
I think I went there over there and fucked up a freestyle one time. It could have been over there or at Bozak's show, but I didn't. Right. I think I got like 4 bars in and I was just like, this is not happening today.
Yeah, we all have our off days, man. We all have our off days.
Tim, can you tell me about that radio show then over there at 105.5?
That's another show that did a lot, and another person that did a lot. People. Well, Grouch was the anchor of that whole thing. Contagious, though, also deserves a lot of flowers.
Yeah, salute to Contagious.
You know?
Yes.
Just a good human being that put a lot of people on. But Grouch, you know, those two were godfathers of the whole DJ scene and a lot of artists, too. Like, they named people. You know what I mean? Like, they got their names. A lot of DJs got their first DJ gigs ever, like, DJing on that radio show. And then we're being able to then leverage, I spun on Soundcheck Show, and now I get my first party somewhere else.
Yeah.
But, like, Grouch did the most. And there was a guy named Josue A.W.O.L, who was actually the second person we'd ever hired at IC Visions. Drex was originally a volunteer at IC Visions. That was my man before it got started. We were always, you know, working together left and right, but he was like focused on other things at first. And Lou was hired. And A.W.O.L's older brother was good friends with Grouch. And so we were just getting IC Vision started.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I know DJ Grouch. He's like, he's a Western Hemisphere champion, as a DJ.
Yeah.
His crew is crazy. Like, he's got a radio show. We can get him to come down and be a DJ for one of our nights.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, that's crazy. Let's do it. So we hired him. And then Grouch was like, why don't you come up and promote the event at our show?
Right.
So that was crazy to me because I was in my last year of high school and going up there to York University. So I was like, this is like, I'm not even supposed to be in university. I'm at a university campus. And I just felt like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah.
And so I was up there and we did the thing, did the show, promoted the community events, talking about it. And he was like, man, you know a lot about the community. And I was like, yeah, I'm outside. I move around, And he invited me back again for another thing. And again, we hired him for some more events. And I was like, can you be our official DJ of IC Visions?
Right.
And he was like, yeah, I'd love to. Wow, that's crazy. Cause he was like Bag of Tricks DJ, he was like Turnstiles crew. Like it was like Lil Jazz, D-Scratch, him, like, these are legends. So that was a big deal and a piece of credibility for IC Visions to be like, oh, we're affiliated with Grouch and them. And then so he kept inviting me back to the show to promote things. And eventually he was like, man, you know so much about the community. Why don't you just give like a report on what's happening in the community? Like what events are going on, what programs people could apply to, you know what I mean? Like, and then, you could write the playlist. And so I started off like writing the playlist for them. So Grouch would be playing songs because it's on vinyl.
Right.
And he'd be just playing songs like live on the fly. He's pulling stuff out of his DJ bag, putting it on. So I'm looking like, which one? Okay. And who wrote that? And like, so they get their publishing and whatever. Yeah. And so I'm writing the playlist and keeping track of stuff. And then from there, I started getting more and more mic time because Contagious was the main host and engineer of the show. And Contagious would like give me more space to talk. And eventually Contagious was like, yo, you want to just co-host the show? I was like, yo, that's crazy. So I started doing that. And for 9 years, almost 10 years, like very close to 10 years, I did that show. A lot of people don't realize that, but like I did that for a long time. And that's where I met a lot of people. And it's like, Tone Mason, Tough Dumpling guys. First was Tough Dumpling and Nefarious and them. And then it was Don D was hanging around. And Don D was like, yo, you know how to write, right? And I was like, yeah. He's like, can you do a bio for my friend? We're working on an album. I was like, yeah, sure. Who's that? He's like, that's this rapper named Juggernaut. And I was like, Juggernaut, okay, who's now, of course, Frankie Payne.
Yeah.
And so I wrote this bio for him. And then he was like, I remember some wild experiences there. And then he was like, yeah, I have this production crew I'm starting called Tone Mason. Like, could you help write that bio? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I ended up talking to them, hanging out with them, writing their bio, inviting them down to the community center. And the two younger guys in the crew would start coming a lot. And they would bring this artist they had named Rochester with them, who went by Juice.
Yeah.
And they all would start hanging out a lot. And eventually we formed a crew out of that movement. But I met so many people through that radio show, just passing through to promote shows, to promote parties, to promote their music. And it was very much a deeper entry point into the scene. And then I would go out with Grouch and them after the show and go like promote their battles and stuff. And I'd be standing outside flyering, for events. And then I got hooked up with BMG to become part of BMG Street Team. And so I did BMG Street Team for years as well in that era. And then moved from BMG Street to BMG Marketing as an intern. And then in the A&R department.
Okay.
Because I really wanted to learn all the different aspects of the industry. Not because I wanted to do every job, but because I was in management, or at least I kind of thought that was going to be my role. And I needed to know how to talk to people about their job and if they were doing it right or not. And how would I know if I hadn't done it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was constantly kind of like getting involved in these different spaces, but a lot of it came through either IC Visions or the Soundcheck show was all these relationships that we've been pushing. But all of it like came from us wanting to get on and wanting to be a part of the scene and wanting to contribute, like it didn't come from like this altruistic, like I want to make the world a better place. Like I cared about the world, but I wanted to we wanted to be Motown. We wanted to be Def Jam. There just wasn't anyone to fucking learn from for the most part. And the few people that existed, that's what I was doing. I was finding those people, the Grouches, the David Coxes, like Click. There's certain people that were a little further along that I was just like figuring out how can I add value to what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so in turn, I could stick around and I could learn and I could soak up game and whatever, and I could contribute, because I'm very much a person that's like that wants it to be a two-way street, and that understands that if I'm going to like be into these spaces, then I have to contribute.
Gotta contribute.
You know, like
Yeah.
exactly. And like otherwise I'm not gonna get the lessons I want to learn. But the relationships are also only gonna be skin deep if like we don't build something real. Like we don't have a real foundation.
Yeah.
You know, and that foundation takes blood, sweat, and tears.
Oh, that's real talk right there, man. No, salute to DJ Grouch too, man.
Absolutely. Legend, bro. And he's still like, to this day, he's still the DJ teacher at Remix Project. You know what I mean? Like 20 years later.
Full circle.
He's the first people I reached out to when we were starting the classes was Click.
Yeah.
Who was like my, you know, I came up under him on the BMG Street team, the national marketing, whatever. That's my big bro forever. And he still to this day runs the artist development program in the recording arts program at Remix, and Grouch, and who to this day runs the DJ program over there. So
that's beautiful, bro.
Yeah, bro.
And can you tell me about Ropes?
The Ropes. The Ropes is how I met Click. So the Ropes was the business program that we first started. When we first started IC Visions, it was in the basement of a community center. It wasn't like a big facility that we had now. And we were doing DJ battles, open mic nights once a month. And otherwise we just kind of had like, we had 2 pool tables, like DJ setup that you could come and practice on the weekends. But it was like, you know, we were just figuring it out. And like I said, I wanted to get on. I was trying to manage artists even at that point when I was like 16, 17, 18. And so by this point, IC Vision started when I was 17, turning 18 that summer. Probably would have been 19 at this point, just starting to go to the clubs, just starting to go downtown in that capacity.
Yeah.
And Click reached out, David Cox reached out and was like, I heard you guys have a hip hop community center in the West End. I work at BMG, one of the major record labels. I want to come put up some poster boards, leave some flyers around for the records we're doing, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, sick. I see those when I go downtown, but I've never seen any poster boards in the West End at all.
Right.
I was like, so you could come drop them to us, but why don't you let me be your guy for the West End? I'll go to Sherway Gardens. I'll go to the high schools. I'll go to a movie theater. I'll put it all up. But like, I need you to come talk to us about marketing and promotion. And like, can we figure out some kind of bartering thing where like, we'll do your street team and you get like people to come talk to us.
Yeah.
And he was like, bet, but like, you can just be a part of the street team. And they paid you like $25 a day, which was basically, you know, it wasn't paying you. It was giving you bus fare there and back and lunch money,
basically,
which was cool. Like, you know, it's better than doing it for free. And that's how I started. I started being on the street team, and true to his word, he came and spoke to us first, but then he got people like Carrie Riley and Joanne, you know, to come. He got Ivan Barry to come talk about A&R, you know, and that series of conversations was what was called the Ropes. And so that's what we called it. We called it the Ropes. We were learning the ropes of the music industry. And it started through that relationship with Click that began as like a kind of, again, recognizing how can I add value? You want to put up poster boards? That's cool. But like, how can I add value? How can we grow a relationship where it makes sense, you know, for you guys? And you'll be like, okay, cool. Like we'll come do something for y'all in return. And so that's where it came from. But it was Click. It was Joanne and Carrie, who I'd actually met even earlier in grade 10 with DJ Fat Lip, aka AK from Reps Up Crew. So AK used to go by, I don't know if I should have said that, but you know, it is what it is. It's all our histories. Like he was a DJ and he was dope. Like at 15 or 16, he got kicked out of his school in the East End and was coming to school in the West End. And me and him have become friends. And he was like, yo, come with me to BMG. That was my first time actually ever going, even before IC Visions existed. He's like, I'm a DJ. They service me records. They give me vinyl. And I was like, what?
The
like
servicing times.
I was like, that's crazy. They just give you vinyl. Like, they want me to play it at parties and mixtapes and stuff. And like I said, I'd started selling mixtapes like in grade 9 for an older kid named DJ Ewok. That was an intern at Played a Record. He was doing his co-op at Played a Record for school, where you go like you do school in the morning, work in the afternoon twice a week. So he was doing his co-op at Played a Record. He would get all these records. He's starting his mixtape game. I was selling his mixtapes at the subways and the train stations. And so Akil was like, oh, you do that? Like, cool, we could roll together. Come with me to BMG. And that's where I first met Joanne and Carrie. I would have been like 16 years old. And they were like the first faces I saw when I walked in. And they were so cool. And they were like, it's like, wow, this is what you do for a living? Like, this is crazy. And they were just like welcoming and put us on. And, you know, it really gave me the bug and gave me confidence, you know, to be in those spaces or whatever. And so then a couple years later, when Click reached out, I was familiar with who BMG was, but I hadn't been in a while because I hadn't seen AK in a while. And they basically were like, when they were saying, let's build this relationship, I said, yeah, okay, cool. Let's party. Let's do that. And so that was a full circle moment there.
Wow.
But AK is another person that played like, it wasn't like a long period of time, but it was a very important period of time of like introducing me to that world and bringing me around and giving me the confidence to be in those spaces.
Yeah.
And like, I love that we're still friends, like 20 years later. Like we don't see each other for a while, but we catch up and it's beautiful. And like that relationship stays strong,
It's like it was just yesterday.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
man. And so he's great people. And I have to give him his flowers, for opening those doors for me and helping to like get me into those rooms,
Oh man, salute to AK, man.
Yeah.
And getting to like the remix project itself, I didn't know until I was doing my research the other day that that came out from a product of the Year of the Gun.
Yeah. That's we lived
05,
it was
basically?
yeah. It was a shitty year. For a lot of people, it was terrible. It was tragic. 2004 was terrible. 2005 was the record number of young people killing each other.
Yes.
And IC Visions had been around in 2000. That's when we got started. 2000, 2005 was the lifespan of that organization. And in 2005, young man named Kende came. He was working at, I forget what he was working for, but he was at the city of Toronto as part of the Toronto Youth Cabinet and was on Mayor Miller's Community Safety Secretariat. And that was when David Miller was the mayor. Shout out David Miller because he was a real one. I don't shout out a lot of politicians, but I will shout him out because I have a lot of respect for him. And he had basically pulled together this community safety secretariat of people from all different walks of life to just talk about like, how do we make the city safer? How do we address gun violence? What's going on? And Kende had heard about us at IC Visions, came out to visit us and was like, I love what y'all are doing. Have you ever heard of this thing called Fresh Arts? And we're like, no. And so he started like putting us on to this legacy of like cultural program that had been happening in the city prior to Remix. That Cardi, Choclair, Julie Black, Director X all came from this amazing program.
Legendary
program. Motion was a part of, as I believe as a teacher and a few other folks as leaders. And anyways, like put us onto that, helped us learn, helped us understand the legacy that we came from and was like, what would you guys do with more money? And I was like, no one has ever asked that question. Usually it's what would you do with less money, right? Like we were probably $20,000 a year program, like two $10,000 grants. Both of them though, ironically as an arts program, people think, it was arts funding. We got our funding from the Justice Department through the crime prevention grants. So we had a crime prevention grant for $10,000 and a breaking the cycle violence grant for $10,000. And those were our initial funds to get it going. And yeah, it was like, I don't know. And during that time, we had also lost some friends to both sides of the gun. We lost some friends who were killed and we lost some friends to jail, for answering those things. And, we're kind of like looking at ourselves and just being like, what are we doing? Like at the same time, like the music thing was really just starting to take off. Rochester had just signed his first record deal. He won the Flow Soul Search. He'd signed this record deal. We went on tour with Obi Trice. It was like a big moment driving across Canada and two Nissan Altimas following his tour bus, like doing all these shows. And I was really thinking that like things are going to pop off for us, but again, like I said, we lost some friends. We took some real L's and like, it was kind of like, what do we do? Like, we can't keep our friends alive. Like, what the fuck are we really doing? And so we took a step back and started thinking about it. And someone at the mayor's office assigned some staff, Denise Andrew Campbell and a woman named that we call Kay. And they helped us think through like, what are we doing? What are we thinking about? How do we add structure to this? How do we bring other funders to the table? What does that look like? And, because there was this whole like, United Way was wringing their hands. What do we do? Like, and all these folks. And so we came up with these concepts, looking at the concept of Remix Project. The Remix Project, even the name of it was the remix of the IC Visions Project. We just didn't know what to call it yet. And so we were just calling it the remix of the IC Visions Project. Like, eventually we'll come up with a name.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then it just like, for the grants, we just shortened it to like the Remix Project. And then we're like, eventually we'll still come up with another name, but we'll call it this for now.
So you guys never came up with a
and we
name.
never came up with another name. So, but we breathe life, and that's what you do with a brand. You breathe life into the brand through your experiences. And so then we start saying, oh, well, we're remixing social thought. We're helping people remix their lives.
Yeah.
You know, we're remixing the approach to working in community. We're remixing the music industry. Like all of these things that became very real through the work that we were doing. But yeah, initially it just started as a placeholder until we came up with a different name. And that was Year of the Gun, you know? And so the city was able to convene like the different funders around the table, and we presented our idea, and we were like, okay, not one person's going to be able to fund this whole thing. What piece can you take? Okay, you're going to take that piece. What piece can you take? Okay, you're into like jobs and job creation. We can do the exit strategies. You can fund that.
Yeah.
You're an arts funder. You were going to fund the recording side. Okay, cool. We're going to do that. And so we piecemealed this thing together. We had a pretty cool space actually that got started down
Surrey Street.
On Sudbury Street, which is now a condo, which I later lived in, which was a cool full circle moment. But yeah, we started in this space, and we were really, really just cognizant of the fact that we needed to have a neutral territory and a place that was TTC accessible all the time. And we were really like trying to figure it out, because we had young people coming to IC Visions from every hood.
Yes.
And like, it's a miracle that shit didn't go down. You know, we had probably one major argument in that era that like could have gone super left, but didn't. And that wasn't even an internal argument amongst a crew more than it was whatever. But we had people coming from like Teesdale on the subway to Lakeshore and Islington. And you had people from Finch, people from Jungle, people from the Rex, people from Parkdale. Like, everybody's coming in, and it was first come, first serve when we were doing IC
And that was technically kind of Parkdale. It's Liberty Village now.
No. Sorry, this was IC Visions days. This was the Lakeshore and Islington. Lakeshore and Islington location.
Even crazier.
Yeah. So, and which was still kind of neutral. Like there was crews operating out of there, but mostly people came to sell drugs there. We were like the Oshawa of Toronto. You know what I mean? Where there's there's guys there, and there's some serious guys there, but like for the most part, people came out there to hustle and then went home. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was kind of neutral, but not, but like, and so when we started Remix, we were like, nah, we need to be a lot more structured. We can't do this first come, first serve. You have to apply to get in. You're going to write an application. You're going to do an interview. We're going to whittle down who's serious, but we do need a neutral location. We need somewhere where everyone feels safe to come. We would have got more money at that time if we were in what was politely called a priority neighborhood. Yeah. Right. So the city has these priority neighborhoods. If we had placed the program in Finch or, Jamestown or wherever, we would have got more funding. But because we were like, no, we won't do that, because we knew that the moment we did that, it became that community's program.
Yes.
And we didn't want to be one community's program. We wanted to be the community's program. We wanted to be Toronto's program. And so we had to find a neutral location where everyone could come to. And one group of friends who lived in a zip code couldn't be like, this is our space. Yeah. You know what I mean? You had to come and become a part of it, not it's our space. Yeah. And now once you're a part of it, it's your space. But like, you're coming to our place. We're not coming to yours.
And the thing is that Parkdale also, and I'm going to say Parkdale and technically Liberty Village, because it's like around that kind of border area of it.
Right.
Parkdale is also known for being an artistic area where a lot of artists come up in and stuff. Like, so I think it's like was one of the first perfect locations to have it.
Yeah, absolutely. And being just on the Liberty Village side as well also allowed for that kind of like getting the credibility of Parkdale's creative community, but then also having the fully neutral space of Liberty Village that was just like warehouses and like Jazz FM and like
at the time,
a soccer field at the time and stuff like that, before it was all condos and whatnot. And so because Parkdale still had a vibrant community, right? And so that they could have also claimed that. Although it was a bit neutral, somewhat like Lakeshore, it was still a stronger identity there. And there was a stronger sense of community there, in the sense of others aren't allowed in without being welcomed in.
Yeah, and they also had their own community center down the street.
They did, Missouri Cowan, which ended up doing some cool programming for a while as well. And some good people did some cool shit there.
Yeah.
So it was important that I think we found that neutral space to again be something that was Toronto wide versus being something that was like zip code specific.
Yeah. I also want to talk about some of the like instructors that you've had go through the remix program.
For sure.
One of the earliest instructors that you had in there was OVO 40, aka Noah Shabib, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Legendary times.
Legendary times, for sure.
What a lot of people don't know is that the So Far Gone mixtape was recorded over there.
Roll Ready Detailing, now open 7 days a week from 8 to 5 p.m. 750 Oakdale Road, Unit 66, specializing in ceramic coating protection with warranty, PPF, tints, wraps, vinyl wraps, and hand car washes. Remember, we clean anything on wheels.
Roll ready, ready for the road.
A lot of it, yeah. A lot of it.
Yeah. Dude, like, can you put us on to like even that connection of like even because now it kind of comes full circle. Drex is the CEO for OVO and everything like this.
Yeah,
like, that connection has been there from time.
Absolutely, there's a very real relationship that came through doing the work. You know what I mean? And I met 40 as we were getting started. So the first person to run the recording arts program was Soze.
Yes.
So Soze was the first guy to run the
Salute to Soze.
And when he was no longer at the program, we had to figure out who that next person was. And we started to put a call out. But I had met 40 at Riley's, which was a legendary Wednesday night event that, Jay Devonish and Masters and a bunch of other people put on. And that was like, you know, there wasn't really social media at that time. This was the place where you met. This was the exchange point. Like Remix wasn't even really popping yet. And like Riley's was the place to go. Like that was where you saw other people in the industry. You networked. You also had fun. Like it was a Wednesday night. They had like $9 pitchers of rum and Coke. It was like hip hop debauchery and just it was great. It was an awesome night. And I remember meeting him, and he we talked for a few minutes, and he was with Empire, right? And he was part of Empire, and a little while later, I was managing Toe Mason. I was managing Rochester. And I was probably more known for that than IC Visions at the time. And it was just starting to IC Visions was starting to pop off. But people knew me from the radio show, and they knew me from Rochester and Toe Mason and Foundation Creative Group. And they were starting to know about IC Visions. And at Toe Mason, the producers, I had just started a management partnership with Mo Joints. And he had heard this record we did for Choclair, that you don't have to worry because I'm coming. That shit.
Big tune.
Crazy record.
Coming a little closer here.
And Mo had heard that at like a Stylist DJ Awards event or something that Click was putting on with those guys. And was like, what are you guys doing? We got this, we have a crew called MIDI Mafia in America.
MIDI Mafia.
And we just did 21 questions for 50 Cent. Yeah. And we're like the biggest thing, but we're from Ottawa. We're from Canada. Like we want to find more producers up here that we could put on. And so we got talking, and then we started a co-management thing. And so he was co-managing Toe Mason, and Toe Mason started getting some looks. So we did like a Fantasia record. We got into some stuff with their artist Demi that had a situation. We did a Quali record, some cool shit.
I think y'all did the Jeezy record too, no? That
would have been just after.
Okay.
But 40 hit me up and was like, he called me and was like, yo, it's 40. You know who I am? And I was like, yeah, I know who you are. Like, Empire, you guys are dope, man. And he's like, yeah. So I told Mo that like, you gave me, like, you co-signed it. You gave me the connect. I'm sending my records to Mo. Like, I just want to make sure you're good. Like, and I was like, yeah, of course, bro. Like, you're fucking dope, man. I love what you're doing. Like, and that's how we actually met. He was like, yo, I'm just letting you know that I already told him that you co-signed me, but like, we're good, right? And I was like, yeah, we're totally good. Like, you're fucking awesome, dude. That's
whatever. Crazy, bro.
And so then when we were trying to do this thing, someone was like, what about 40? And it came down to 40 and one other guy who is still an awesome producer, but had a very different kind of like lane and vibe. And we were interviewing, and both of them were really good. But as we were talking to 40, it was like 10 minutes in the interview, and these guys just went out to the alleyway and had a smoke, and we're talking, and just like, it just felt like the raw energy of who we were and what it was. And we were just like, nah, this is the guy.
Yeah.
And so, we were lucky that he joined the team. And then that was still the very, very early days. And the nucleus was like T-Rex, right? Tyrone Edwards was running the business program.
Yeah.
You had 40 running the recording arts program, Brian Espiritu from Legends League was running creative arts with Brian Brock as his like right hand.
Yeah.
And then there was Amanda Paris, who was like our community outreach and like development officer. And then there was Drex running the CFO basically position, and myself as executive director, and Kane Day as like was just before Amanda and had left, and then Amanda came in and took it. But that was kind of the early nucleus, like just after Soze had left, and like there's a few other youth leaders like Myrna, who was there in the very early days, Lady Noise, a few other folks. But that was the team, and that was a wild era.
Yeah.
And I always say that like as much as our alumni have gone on to do some awesome stuff, many of our staff as well really needed somewhere that like paid some bills, that gave some stability, that gave some structure, that allowed for them to grow.
Yeah.
Right. And then seeing how they've gone off to do really well as well is something that just like makes me incredibly excited, you know, when I think about it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just happy for people because just knowing who they are, what their vision was, and, you know, the obstacles that they had to kind of get around to get there is awesome, man. So to see everyone now, like 40, of course, Tyrone, you know, at the top of his media game,
Yeah.
Amanda being this award-winning filmmaker and creative, as well as like, you know, was the face of CBC for a minute, and Drex as CEO of OVO, and
bro.
Brian Espiritu being like one of the most celebrated artists out here at this point, and like, you know, Legends League being the hottest brand for a long time, and like it's awesome, man. Brock, you know, carving his path in such a cool and authentic way. It's really cool, man. You know, and then other folks that were around from that time too. I consider all of them co-founders. You know, like as much as I say that all the time, it's like technically it's me, Drex, and Kane Day that were the three co-founders. But Tyrone was the first person we hired.
Tyrone Edwards,
T-Rex.
Okay.
Because I met him through Lo, Giancarlo, and Lo was someone I met because he was managing Ricochet, who used to go by, or Sean Booth, who went by Ricochet at the time. And we were doing music stuff, and he became one of my best friends. He paid for my first passport. You know, he brought me to New York for the first time. He really opened a lot of doors for me, like Lo. And Tyrone was his best friend.
Right.
You know, like T-Rex and Tyson, those were his two best friends. And I met T-Rex, and immediately, like, you can't, like, he's so charismatic. His energy's so big. You'd walk down the street, he'd know everybody. You know, they were starting to promote parties and events, and mostly it was concerts at first with their barbershop show series. And I was just like, we need this guy. Like, we're starting this thing. I was like, we're starting this thing called Remix. It's like the evolution of IC Visions. You know, we're going to have a business program. I want you to run the business program. And he was like, business program? And I was like, yeah, bro, like you're one of the best entrepreneurs I know. You throw in these awesome events. You know how to organize people. You know how to get people in the space. You know how to make people feel comfortable, feel welcome. You know, like so he was like a big part of the credibility in the early days of Remix as well. And his energy was also really important to that space, you know, just as Brian Espiritu's was for creative arts, but creative arts came year 2. So Soz and Tyrone. And then they had youth leaders, which was Myrna and Lady Noise. And then year 2, that's when we added the creative arts program. And that was Brian Espiritu and Brian Brock. And Brock, I also met through Lo. Like, Lo is the low-key glue between a lot of crews and a lot of people. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, he's a glue guy. You know, he's like the ultimate team player.
Absolutely.
You know, like he's just someone that will just stay on. He'd probably cringe hearing me talk about him right now. You know what I mean? Because he just doesn't like the spotlight either. He's similar to Drex in that way. But he's someone that deserves like bouquets and bouquets of flowers for how he's put on for so many people and how he's put so much on his back to like create a foundation for others to stand on. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like myself included.
Salute to Lo, man.
Yeah. So I'd met a lot of people through him, and he eventually, because he'd moved to New York and he was interning under Mr. Morgan and was living there and coming back, throwing parties, getting enough money to then go pay his rent in New York to keep interning under Morgan. Yeah. And eventually he moved back to Toronto, and we hired him to run the business program when Tyrone had left. And then he now is running the alumni program, which was always his vision, was to have an alumni program of Remix and like create something like a fraternity and a sorority, you know, for the hood, because we just don't have those up here. Yeah. You know, and if any of them do exist, we don't know about them, and they certainly aren't involved in the community where we come from. So, you know, he wanted to make sure that we had that, and that energy was there to like oh, you're 12.0, I'm 3.0. Like, why don't you come over here and I'll give you a space in my storefront to do a pop-up. And let's connect the dots between these people, because that's what these fraternities are, right? Like when you see them in America out there, it's like, oh yeah, I work at a law firm. You just graduated, you can article at my law firm. So it's like,
they do a little hand signal or handshake.
Like, exactly. Like, it's like, how do we create that here? Like that mentality of like, each one teach some. How do we open doors? How do we know that like, oh, you're vetted because you went through this process. You're remix, I'm remix too. I know what that means.
Yeah.
There's a certain energy.
I know you put the work in. Yeah.
Right. And you move through the world in a certain way. And you're like, you're going to put on and you're also going to put up, like you do the work but also like open doors for others. And just, so it means something, you know what I mean? And so that was kind of, a big part of his vision that he now runs with a woman named Cassie over there, Cassandra, that's like, who's also super dope and an alumni from the space. But yeah, anyways, I'm kind of, going off, but those were some of the alumni staff. After 40 left the recording arts program, there was A.W.O.L, was another legend in the music industry that was running it. And then he had Daniel Daly working with him. Yes. And Daniel Daly started leading the program. And Daniel, the classes he taught, he had Jesse Reyes. So Daniel, of course, goes on to become Division. And the first Division album was recorded at Remix.
Let me interrupt you for a second.
Gone,
because I used to use the space, different ones. There was the one on Party Street, right?
Yeah.
And the one on Sudbury, right?
Mm-hmm.
After classes and stuff like that, for sessions and stuff. The one on Party Street, I used to bump into Daniel in there recording, and it used to piss me off, bro. I'm like, it was my time now. Like, what's going on? I didn't know that they were Division or went on to be Division.
Yeah, of course.
Same thing with Drake.
Yep. Well, even with him being around in the early days, because, there was a big debate, should Drake be in the program? And we were like, he doesn't really need it. You know what I mean?
Really?
Like, he's already kind of on his way. He's got support. Like, this was like room for improvement mixtape time.
Interesting.
And I remember it was a very heated debate. And it didn't mean that he wanted to be in it. It was just us like, should we be trying to get him in the program?
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, maybe the business program, like, because recording, he's already kind of got it. And then what we settled on, we were like, 40, this is your man. You could just have the space after hours. We run the program from 3 to 9. Like, why don't you just have him in here for free? We won't charge you. And because we can't pay you what we want to pay you anyways. You know what I mean? And so he would come in. And so Future the Prince was a young man in the business program. And he was so awesome that like once he graduated from the business program, he became the youth leader under T-Rex. So he was working at Remix in the business program under Tyrone. 40 would stay late working with Drake. Future would be hanging out with Tyrone. They'd be all hanging out in the studio. Future would just contribute, right? And make himself like invaluable. And just being a cool guy, but also like actually doing things. Like, hey, you need this done? I'll go get it done. Like,
dude.
And then so that whole relationship kind of like started from that space.
Yes.
And it like, there's definitely a nucleus that was formed in that building, but it's not to say that it wouldn't have formed otherwise. It might have, but it was definitely like.
But listen, okay, let me do this.
What it was a safe.
Let me do you a favor because I know you're humble.
No, I know, but I also want to be like clear that like people were linking outside of there. You know what I mean? Like Drake and 40 met on a video shoot. It had nothing to do with us.
We
like,
know that story.
Like, yeah.
But I'm going to say it for you. I feel, I know this is just my opinion, that the OVO company kind of started inside of the walls of Remix.
I think the nucleus of what would become the company was largely there. And obviously Oliver and 40 knew each other from high school in different spaces, and so people pulled in. I think the nucleus of that team, a lot of it was in the early days definitely met in that space because it was one of the few safe creative places in the city for people to meet. Right? Not because there was some grand design or something.
No.
You know, it was just like, that's where you worked and this was a safe space and we could meet there.
Everything just kind of fell into place.
Yeah, exactly. And then they went off and did their thing that had nothing to do with us. But a relationship continued because we had such a respect for each other. And like, they've gone on not only to incredible success, but they've gone on to continue to contribute back to the organization in a lot of real ways. Like, they've hired so many people, not just like, there's definitely producers that have gotten placements, you know, but there's also like graphic designers that have got jobs, like photographers got jobs, you know, like there's people, social media people that got jobs. Like, they really like stepped up and made a real kind of commitment to hiring from the community and growing their teams from there and continuing that relationship, as well as, you know, giving some funding when we were in tough spots and helping to bridge the gap. And they did it without fanfare. They did it without press releases. You know what I mean? Like, they did it because they were just real guys that understood like this place has value in the community. And they respected, you know, what it had meant to them in their lives at one point, you know, and wanted to see it continue for others, you know? And out of that, like, again, you see all these other young people that have gone on to do awesome stuff that might not have been directly affiliated with them, but certainly because of our symbiotic relationship over the years, like, have benefited from their kind of bridges and their generosity as well. So like a Jessie Reyes, a Wonder
Daniel
Girl.
Caesar.
You know, Daniel Caesar, I wouldn't claim to.
No?
I would say that no, not at all. I would, and I have great deal of respect for their whole movement. But we had nothing to do with that.
Oh,
you know,
okay. I thought he came out of Remix.
No.
My bad.
He came through Matthew Burnett and Jordan Evans, who were affiliated with the OVO camp as producers.
Okay.
And then they had their own success, you know, and started working with Daniel Caesar. But we had nothing to do with that. There's definitely a huge mutual respect, you know, between all of us. And a genuine love for their artistry and their contributions. But no, I can't say that. Jessie Reyes, I could say.
Give me some more names, because there's a plethora of people who have come out of Remix that have gone on to do great things, bro.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, we know the names like the Jessie Reyes and the Wonder Girls, but I think what's really cool, and Lucala, who's continuing to kill it, and so many more. But I think what's really great is there's people in all aspects of the industry now. Like, it was always the vision that if we just had a music program, we're still going to be stuck in the same problem which Toronto has always had, which is there's a lot of talent here. There's not a lot of infrastructure. The infrastructure is the issue. The talent's not the issue. There's a lot of talent. You know, there's like not a lot of infrastructure. So we need a business program to help get the right people in working at the labels to help build independent companies, management companies, all of that. And I'm really proud that like that was something that was a conscious thought of ours when we got started. And so when we started recording arts, we started business arts right next to it at the same time. And then creative arts the next year, because it was an ecosystem. We're, again, talking at the very beginning of this conversation, building laterally, building with each other to be like, oh, you need a photo shoot for your clothing line. You need a lookbook, you know, for that clothing line. You need a portfolio as a photographer. This recording artist needs a press kit. Okay, why don't we just all do a shoot together? And now you got the photo, you style him, you get the photos for the, and like now we all have something. And so I'm really proud that like you see people now, you know, who were working at Universal Music Canada in the A&R department, you know, like Kweku, you got, you know, Chantel and Carla that at Spotify, you got, you know, a guy like Joel Naga who's been at Amazon, who's been at Warner and like all sorts of different places. Same with Jovin at Sony before, and then moving on. Like, those are things that I'm really proud of. A guy like Fresh, what he's accomplished, like Jabril Jala, like he's a fucking legend, you know, like Will, like Photo Will, like all these guys, Adi Papa, like there's so many folks that have gone on to do really major things, but have also opened doors for so many others that I just think deserve those kind of flowers. So we just relaunched our website, remixproject.com. There's also remixproject.ca because we're still Canadian. But same thing, same site. Go to that, either one goes to the same place. And you can see the alumni there. And you can see the kind of like what they're doing, what they're up to, whatever. And you can kind of just scroll through. And it's something that I'm incredibly proud of, is what they're doing in the world, but also that the organization, which has always been a youth-led organization, has always championed the idea of youth leadership, continues to be youth-led, and is now led like probably 70% of the staff there, 75% of the staff are alumni. They're people that went through the program at one time themselves. Rich Kid now runs recording arts. Meg Prosper runs creative, right? A.W.O.L is our executive director. Like,
full circle.
Yeah, man. And it's survived founder syndrome.
Yeah.
Not a lot of things survive founder syndrome. When the founder leaves, the thing dies, whether that's a product, a business, an organization. A lot of things are a cult of personality. And I think we made very real decisions early on to make sure that Remix was a organization that had a brand, a name, and identity, and that it wasn't one person, because it wasn't. It was always a lot of different energies contributing to that space. And so we would make the decision. When I realized I'm doing all the interviews in the early days, right? I'm the spokesperson.
Yeah.
But then it's becoming me. So I was like, yo, you go do that interview.
Yeah.
You go do this one. I'll do this one. And let's split it up. So then multiple faces are speaking for it. So it doesn't become one person, because when it becomes one person, it's fallible.
Yeah.
Because we're all fallible. I'm fallible. I'm a flawed human being. This person's a flawed human being. Someone's going to pick it apart based on this person that they like, or they don't like this person, or they fucked up, or they did something stupid, and it's fucked and it's gone. Or maybe you didn't do nothing good. You did everything right, but you just decided to leave, and it was your time to move on.
And now it's still looking for you.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, they're not there anymore. So I don't know if I trust this anymore. I don't know if we're going to fund it. I don't know if we're going to get that grant. So it was like, nah, let's make sure that this is always the identity of this thing is big as is its own thing. And it's bigger than one person. It can't be a cult of personality, because it shouldn't be. It's of the community. It's that early lesson from Bill. To prove to me that this isn't your idea, that if it's for the community, it's of the community.
It's of the community. Oh, that's real talk right there, man. Okay, I just have a couple more questions for you, right?
Yeah.
Because we've been going through the full history right here, but I didn't get to the record label yet, because you have a record label now. Yeah. You recently you guys signed Melanie Fiona recently, right? Talk to us about the label One Records,
Public Records,
or Public Records.
So funny enough, going back to, because we've been talking through the timeline, my first management company was managing Rochester, Toll Mason, all that was called Public Management. And Public Management comes from the radio show, because my name on the radio show was Q Public, because that was actually a bit of a homage to my dad. Because as a journalist, you could either say John Doe, or a big thing in journalism would be in the opinion of John Q Public,
right?
Or in the opinion of John Public. It was just a way of saying the everyday man, or the common person. And so I took that as I'm the common person. I'm the guy in the street. I'm Q Public. And then Public was the short form. And then it was also a play, because my friends would be complain all the time, because we'd be walking around and be like, bro, you have to fucking talk to everybody. You're so fucking public, bro. Let's go. So then it became Public Management, and it was this idea of the public good and all that stuff. So years later, drop that thing. Remix is going on. That does well. Move on from doing Remix. It's a youth-led project. I'm clearly not a youth anymore.
Yeah.
Where do I go? What do I do? I'd started this for-profit incubator that lived for a year. It was one of the most incredible years of my life. And then it imploded in this crazy ball of flames, and was one of the worst experiences. And then from there was left being well, what do I do? And again, knowing that yes, Remix has done a lot in terms of helping to create an incubation space, but there still isn't a lot of infrastructure up here. There's more than there used to be, but still not a lot. And so I was the next kind of iteration is management and a label. And so I was on my couch, depressed as shit, after Deus had imploded. Some other just wild shit had happened. Some friends had gotten killed. Other friends had been shot, injured, all it was a lot happening all within 30 days. And so I kind of just took a bit of time and was yo, I'm fucking going through it. I'm eating pasta on the couch. I ain't doing nothing. You know what I mean? I'm broke. I'm fucked up. This is not good. And Chris Taylor was running running E1 at the time, was oh, you're not over at that incubator anymore? What are you doing? And it was actually one of our alumni, Ricardo, who's now an A&R at Warner Chappell, at the publishing company.
Okay.
Was over there. And so again, one of our alumni, that whole network, was yo, I was talking to Chris, you guys should talk. So I went in for a meeting with Chris Taylor, and he was like, what are you doing? What do you want to do? And I was like, well, I've been thinking about this management company, but I want the ability to put out records and have an ecosystem and really be a next step for Remix, because you graduate from there, you have a network, you have skill sets, you have all this stuff, but you're still missing capital.
Yes.
So how do we inject capital into people that, could really, really go somewhere, and then take other people with them, and cause ripples? And he was like, we talked a lot about it. I made this whole proposal. We threw the ideas back and forth. He's like, look, I'm really interested in the management company. I have actually a division where we've invested in different management companies. I'm not so interested in the record label. It's something we could talk about in the future, but I don't really want to do that right now. And around that time, Wanda was starting his record label at Universal.
Right.
Jeffrey Remedios had just gotten into kind of the CEO position over there. And Masters, I think it was Masters. There's a few different folks. But anyways, we were talking and he was telling me what they were doing. And I was like, oh, cool. I'm starting this like management company and agency. Maybe we could do the branding for Wanda's label and help come up with some of the branding and ideas. And so we did a meeting.
Right.
And then Anthony, who was working at Universal and was working with Wanda and them and got that deal done. And he was part of Daniel Caesar's team. But I guess he talked to Jeffrey. Jeffrey reached out, was like, I want to talk to Gavin. So he came to me and was like, hey, you're doing this company with Chris. What are you doing? Did you do the deal yet? And I was like, nah, but we're pretty far along. And Chris, to his credit, like he knew I was on my face and he put money in my pocket. Like he was like, he's like, what's going on? I was like, I'm fucked up right now, and he didn't have to. He advanced me some money. He made sure I was okay. I could pay my bills. Like I owed Chris Taylor a debt, for real. And he was like, well, you should do it with us. And I was like, I can't do that to Chris, man. He just did so much for me, but I really like you and I really like what you're building here. And I think there's a vision and I'm excited about it. And he's like, well, what are you doing? I said, well, we're just doing the management company. And he's like, well, what about a record label? You ever want a record label? And I was like, yeah, since I was a kid, like for sure. And he's like, well, why don't we do that? So I went back to Chris. I said, look, Chris, I just had a meeting with Jeffrey. He's offered me to do a label deal. I wanted to do it with you. You don't want to do it.
A label, yeah.
Are you okay with me doing this? Because there's a non-compete in our thing, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, he thought about it and he goes, look, I'm not crazy about it, but I see your vision of an ecosystem. And I was like, yeah, because like I'm going to manage producers. I'm going to be chasing placements all the time. And it's a hard game to chase placements and try to get placements. But while we're doing that, if I have a label, I could be my own budget and get like working with my producers to produce records on the label. So there's always income coming in to the management stream through the label side too. And so it's an ecosystem that we're building here. One hand washes the other. And he's like, I see your vision. I think it makes sense. I also know that I want to have a long-term relationship with you. And I know that if I tell you no, you're going to end up resenting me.
Right.
So I'm going to let this happen. And I went back to Jeffrey and I was like, yo, I got the green light. Are you cool? This is what's up. And he was like, yeah, fuck it. Let's run it. So we started Public Records. So we had Quiet as Kept is that management company and agency. And that's like, it's quiet as kept. You don't need to know about us. We're behind the scenes. We're the managers. We're not in the music videos with our shirts off. Like that's it. We're quiet as kept. We're in the background.
Right.
And then there's Public Records. That's loud. You should know about everything on Public Records. Like this is what's going on. This is the identity. And those two entities have been sister companies that my boy Trung Hong. Trung is one of my oldest friends.
Salute to Trung.
Yeah, he's another one of those guys that's just been in the trenches forever in terms of the culture space, in terms of community space, has built a lot of companies on his own and just done like, some pretty impressive stuff. And
great photographer too.
Yeah, great photographer too. He's creative in his own right. He's another person that has both that left and right brain. He's one of those like fucking mutants that has both. Like most of us, we're one or the other, right?
Yeah,
but he somehow like he can navigate those spaces. And similar to my relationship with Drex, like it's not like he's not my right hand. I'm not his left hand. I'm the left hand. He's the right hand. And we build these things together. You know what I mean? And so that's the management company, but it's also very much the record label. Like we're on paper, we're business partners for the management company. And he's the first person I hired for the record label, but really like we're partners across everything. Right. So we created that. A few other folks contributed in and out over the years that have really, really helped grow what we were doing. And yeah, we had the privilege of putting out Melanie Fiona's first EP in a long time. Beautiful body of work. Melanie is another one of my oldest friends. We've known each other 20 years, same as us.
Yeah. We
all came up together. I knew her from the group she was in with Andrina Mill and other people.
Renaissance.
Oh fuck, I just lost it. They were called. she
Oh,
probably don't want me to say it.
Exquisite?
Exquisite. Yeah.
Mm.
Exquisite. So, because I went to high school with Andrina's little sister.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we all just like we're Toronto kids.
Yeah.
We all know each other from the city. You know what I mean? Like it's like we were outside, you know, and so I met Mel through that. And then, you know, we had a lot of people in common, people that became really important in our lives. And yeah, just remained friends. And then finally, like she hadn't put out records in a long time for a series of like just very natural, normal reasons
Mhm.
that ended up being like 8, 9, 10 years.
Yeah.
Where it was like, this was only supposed to be like a 2-year hiatus. And it like just through a very like, you can, when you look at it, you're like, oh, I completely understand why this worked out this way. But it's like, yo, that's crazy because you had like Grammy wins, nominations, you're, you know, on this wave, and then you just kind of stop putting out records. But it actually, when you unpack it, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And you actually respect a lot of it as well. But I called her and on some very Toronto shit was just like, yo, what are you dealing with? Like doing music or like, what are you dealing with?
Yeah.
Like, you have to have records. I know you got records.
Couple in the stash.
Yeah. And she's like, I got records. Like, and she sent me the records and I was like, holy fuck, these are incredible. Like, yo, I don't have a lot of money, but you can have all of it.
Mm.
Like, what do you want to do? You know? And it's been a privilege, like being able to put out that project and say yes. I helped. So we had a bunch of records. Some of them we ended up not using, and I had the opportunity to help like A&R and put a couple songs together. So we got Akil Henry on there as one of my favorite producers. Linked him with Child,
Mhm.
you know, another one of my favorite producers. They made a banger for her. And then I got D-Mile, who's like one of my favorite producers in the world, also one of Melanie's favorite producers. You know, he does the Silk Sonic album.
Yeah.
He does all Bruno Mars records. He does like, he's incredible. And then Tierra Thomas, beautiful full circle moment, who writes a lot of Hers music and
Mhm.
who's also D-Mile does all Hers music.
Right.
But Tierra Thomas was actually the first EP that I ever put out on public records. So I was, Emperor Jeff, reached out. We had been talking about trying to do some stuff with Francis Scott Heat and her. And he was like, yo, I have this artist, Tierra Thomas. I was like, of course I know who Tierra Thomas is. She's great. He said, we're trying to put out an EP. She's going on road with her touring Europe. We got to get it out in the next couple months.
Mhm.
And I was like, all right, bet. I brought it to a couple different places and folks were just moving really slow. And I was like, look, I have a record label. I'm starting it in like 2 weeks. Like I'm finishing the paperwork. I'll put it out if you can't find another deal before then.
Yeah.
I'll put it out. Here's what I can afford. This is what I can do. And he was like, sounds good. Let's run it. And for me, it was a huge win because I was just a big fan of Tierra Thomas. I loved that whole movement with what Jeff and Walt were doing
Mhm.
and that whole crew. And I also really I liked that the first project I was putting out was from an American recording artist, because what it immediately signified is that this isn't a local mom and pop record label. This is a international record label
yeah.
that's based in Toronto. And so we put out that record as the first record. And that was a really cool flag in the ground moment for us. And we maintained a great relationship. I really just respect Tierra as not only as an artist, but as a human being.
Mhm.
Her pen is incredible. She's also just cool as shit and a good person. And so I reached out and I was like, yo, Melanie's working on this project. I'm trying to get her in with D-Mile. Would you want to step in? And so she jumped in too. And that's how the Make Me Feel record came about
Dope.
on that project. So a lot of it was records she already had for years. Some of it we got to put some new records, and I actually got a chance to like do some stuff with my friend.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, we put it out, man. And it's been an incredible kind of beautiful experience to like do that for someone that I honor, that I truly believe in, that I truly believe is one of the best live performers in the entire world.
Yeah.
You know, and one of my favorite voices. So
No, that's dope,
Yeah.
man. That's dope. Salute to Melanie Fiona. Salute to Public Records, man.
Yep.
Salute to you, Gavin.
Russell project coming out on Wednesday, man. Shout out Russell.
I got to get Russell in here soon, man.
He's in the Philippines. This project coming out on Wednesday is called Mother's Land, and it's a collaboration between him and all these artists in the Philippines. He's been out there
Okay.
for a while because he'd never been before.
Yeah.
And we're like, that's crazy. You got to go. And so we helped him get there for the first time, connected him to the community out there through our friends and our networks.
Mhm.
And yeah, he was out there for his last album release, and then ended up working on this little side quest called Mother's Land, you know,
Nice.
honoring his mother and honoring that connection to the motherland. And comes out on Wednesday. So that's another project I'm excited about on there.
Yo, Russell, when you come back to Toronto, pull up, bro. Let's get an interview popping,
Yep.
man.
Yep.
Last thing I want to know for like the future of what's going on. What's the future of the remix, as well as the future for you, Gavin?
So remix, I'm just gonna quote Mos Def, where they ask like, what's hip hop and what's it going? And he's like, hip hop is the people. You know, it's going to do what the people
People
going to
wanna
do.
do,
You
yeah.
know, and that's what remix is. Like people talk about it like it's some. What does he say? He said people talk about it like it's some
way off
giant in the
planet.
mountain. Yeah, some giant in the mountainside somewhere, and like it's this thing. And he's like, nah, it's us. It's so it's gonna grow. Like again, I'm really proud that alumni run that space. I'm on the board of directors. I don't run that space. I give advice when they ask me.
Yeah.
But if they don't need old man Gav, then I'm gonna go sit in my corner and eat a cookie. Like it's cool. You know what I mean? Like there's things that I see happening that I'm kind of like, ah. But what I recognized is, again, that's my ego.
Mhm.
And that sometimes it's 1 + 3 to get to 4. Sometimes it's 2 + 2. And it's okay if they do 2 + 2 when I would
Yeah.
have done 1 + 3.
Yeah.
Like it's fine.
As
you
long
know?
as we get to 4,
As long as we get to 4, we good. Like as
Yeah.
long as the core ethos of the initiative and the organization does not change, that's fine. The programming itself should evolve
Mhm.
because culture is evolving. We can't be, God bless everybody, but we can't be like one of them breakdancing programs that's trying to get everybody to breakdance because that's what we know how to do.
Yeah.
But like, ain't nobody breakdancing no more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like again, God bless everybody, and it's cool. I get it, but like,
Yeah. You got to evolve with the times.
you know what I mean?
Start you guys probably have streaming and all that starting to go on over there.
Like we
Everything's
got to
starting
figure
happen.
all this stuff out. We got to figure out like what is like we have the recording arts, creative arts, art of business. We've been looking at starting the digital program for a long time,
Mhm.
trying to get that going, trying to figure it out, like coding, like all this stuff. Because the reality is, hip hop as the ethos of the remix project was because that was the language of our generation. And how remix is going to continue to be successful in terms of engaging young people who need a safe space to come and explore their own brilliance and talents and vision is by continuing to speak the language of young people. And so that language is a virus. It evolves as we do. And so it needs, the programming by extension needs to think. So it is the line of subculture, counterculture, and pop culture. And walking whatever that fucking gray area between counterculture and pop culture and being a bridge between those, that's where remix is going to go.
Yeah.
And that's where it should go, or else it's going to die. You know what I mean? We're just
Yeah.
going to be like a museum. And it's like, it's
man.
over. You know what I mean? So again, like these young people need to continue to lead it. They need to continue to evolve it. They need to know that it's theirs, you know, and that like, we're just going to give the wisdom that we have where we could be like, hey, don't touch that. It's hot. You're going to burn yourself, or don't stick that in the fucking, in the electrical socket. You're going to get electrocuted.
Yeah.
But outside of that, like go figure it out. You know what I mean? Get your knees bloodied, like catch a cold, like it'll be okay.
Yeah.
You know, like we got to let them grow up. We got to let it figure out on its own, and it's got to evolve without us, but with our guidance, with our love, with our respect, but not with our command.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that's dope, man. Listen, man, I'm really, really glad that we got to finally catch up, man.
Yeah,
This has
bro.
been a while in the making. I feel that the audience has been able to catch the full comprehensive story of Gavin Sheppard,
Right.
and all of the turns and twists that you've gone through, bro.
Yeah, you definitely brought out some like moments there. I was like,
Yeah.
what the, how do you know about that? That's crazy.
Nah, bro, I felt that it was important to get your story here, and just to let you know, bro, I'm proud of you and
Thank you,
everything
man.
that you've done, man.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, man.
No, it's my pleasure. And I'm glad to get to share it, you know, because I think, you know, Instagram is usually a highlight reel and all that stuff. And it's every journey is highs and lows. Every
Yeah.
journey is 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Every journey, you know, that's what it's comprised of. You know, the hero's arc, you know, it's not a hero's journey if everything's easy, you know, and I think I fail more often than I know I fail more often than I succeed, but I keep going, you know what I mean? And I think that's what I hope people take from it and understand it. And just like, you know, also understand that like leadership is service, and, you know, you get on by finding out where you fit in, you know, and how you contribute.
That's the jewels right there, man. That's dope right there, man. Big thank you for coming through and having this interview with me, brother. I'm gonna take us out here with a tune.
All right.
Because you mentioned some bars here and it put that song right away into my head.
Yep.
The Fear Not of Man.
Yep.
By the boy Mos Def.
Crazy.
Big salute to Gavin Shepard. All the sponsors are gonna have already been rolled across the bottom of the screen. Make sure to hit the subscribe, all that good stuff. We are off of this, man. Deuces.
We
Thanks
love
for
hip
watching.
hop.
If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to check out these other videos on the screen and make sure to like and subscribe.
We love hip hop.